Hello, I'm Charles Coves, Australasia's passion provocateur. Welcome to this week's episode of the Charles Coves Show, episode 133. In this week's episode, I explore a range of areas of life where good people are selling out their principles for the attraction of lots of cash. What makes people do this? Are you able to resist the temptation of cash in favour of your values, your principles, and your philosophy of life? Founders of charities have been in the news many times for their misuse or stealing of cash. Casinos ignore the law governing their operations so that executives who are paid lots of money can keep their cash. Politicians are willing to say anything to keep the cash and perks of being in office. This episode discusses the internal resources you need to enable you to resist temptation, to do what's good, to do the right thing at all times, and not to give away your principles for the illusory benefits of lots of cash. Our format for this show is to share the big idea of the show with you up front, to share 6 resources to help you implement the week's big idea. Thirdly, a review of key happenings over the past week or so, and then lastly, the foundational principles for the show and further details about my background at the end for newer viewers and listeners, where the regular viewers and listeners already know my background. So that's the way that we structure it. So let's go with today's big idea. There are so many examples today of bad behaviour, of people ditching principles and values in favour of receiving large amounts of cash. Founders of charities, of organisations that are declared to be not-for-profits, misusing cash or stealing it. The founders of Black Lives Matter buying multi-million-dollar homes for themselves. I can name a number of charities, including in the health space recently. Very disappointing to see this behaviour where people are misusing a large amount of money donated for good causes. The former Prime Minister of Australia behaving badly by appointing himself into 5 ministry positions. He was interested in keeping his position as Prime Minister to make the country run how he wanted to, regardless of convention of rules, of indeed his proclaimed Christian faith of doing the right thing. There are tens of thousands of employees in Big Pharma who are good people, who are ignoring the bad things that are being done for the ease of keeping their jobs, of keeping their income streams. They know what's happening is wrong, but they're not willing to sacrifice their cash. Another example is the Liberal Party in Victoria and Australia that won't stand for anything. They prefer to attract votes. Like many politicians, they sell out their principles, their stated policies to attract votes, because for many politicians, in my experience, most politicians, the most important principle is to keep their jobs. Bugger the people, bugger the policy, bugger the principles. Let's just stay and keep these perks of office. Casinos in Australia have been in the news over the years for very bad behaviour, of ignoring the rules, of taking big bets from criminals, from known criminals, people who have been banned from casinos. Why? Because the executives want to achieve their KPIs to earn the money so that they get their bonuses. It always intrigues me, why is cash so attractive? Another example that I use is people giving away their health for money. I want you to deeply think about this. Why would you do the wrong thing for cash? I say that most people get tempted, just like I get tempted with coffee. Maybe I'm not tempted with coffee. Maybe I just love the stuff. I do love it. I say people are tempted successfully by cash because their values and principles are unclear. Their purpose and meaning is unclear. The spiritual framework for how they view life is unclear, or they've totally thrown away any attempt at having a spiritual aspect of their life. I say people who give away their values and principles for cash suffer from low self-esteem, low self-confidence. They go, gosh, if someone's offering me comfortable, easy money to do the wrong thing, I will take that because I don't have the confidence, I don't have the self-belief, the self-esteem to go and earn that money properly by properly and lawfully adding value. I say such people have no passion for what they're doing. Because passion comes from your soul. You would not do bad, you would not do evil in pursuing your passion. People with values, with purpose, with meaning are able to answer the question, what's the right thing to do? What's the good thing to do? What's the evil thing to avoid? Why am I being offered large amounts of cash to do something? Am I really adding value? I'm all in favour of people earning large amounts of cash, but that's dependent on adding proper value, lawful value, right value for what you're doing. The reason why values are so important is because the illusion of cash is that it will make your life comfortable and easy and take away your problems. Well, I've been around for a long time, and my experience is when you sell out your values, you pay a big, big price, mentally, subconsciously, and spiritually. But the illusion of a life of comfort, of ease, is so seductive. And if you don't have values, you will be seduced. You will be successfully tempted. My message to you is to constantly work on your values, to articulate your values, to decide the values that will guide your behavior. The importance of integrity, the importance of honesty, the importance of complying with your spiritual principles. If you don't know what they are clearly, then it is very easy to be seduced by a life of ease and comfort. But it's an illusory one. It's an illusory one because you will pay a price when you sell out in that way. And a big example of that is people who are trapped into the criminal system because they've taken bribes or whatever. Their biography shows they deeply regret having made that decision. My wish for you is that you lead a life where you don't regret decisions, many decisions or big decisions that you've made that are going to haunt you for the rest of your life. Do that work. And so I have 6 resources to share with you that will help you do the work. The song today is written by Sting for the Police when he was with the Police, called Don't Stand So Close to Me. It's all about temptation. Who knew? It's a song about a teacher and a female student, and the student being attracted to the teacher, and the song goes, temptation, frustration, so bad it makes him cry. Wet bus stop, she's waiting, his car is warm and dry. Don't stand so, don't. It's all about resisting temptation. The book, an easily usable book, not lots of words, but it's called I, Steve, Steve Jobs in his own words. And he was a man who was driven in a big internal way, in a intuitive way. And he was a tough taskmaster, but he followed his principles. And this book, I, Steve, shows or shares with you a series of key principles that guided his behaviour. A quote is from that book from Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, of course. Have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary. The message: follow your heart and intuition. Of course, that's what this whole show is about. Following your heart, your intuition. Your intuition comes from your soul, from your subconscious, from your superconscious. My spiritual tip, therefore, today is to meditate on your values. Think about what you do value and the order in which you value those things. My health tip today is, because of the elements I'm going to raise in the review of the week, is the reminder to have a tablespoon of hemp seeds every day. Hemp seeds, particularly organic hemp seeds, have the perfect combination of omega-3, 6 and 9 amino acids to help your body with its optimal functioning. And, of course, my spot of humour is about temptation. And it's about a rabbi and a priest sitting on an aeroplane. They start chatting. And the priest turns to the rabbi and says, "Rabbi, your religion forbids you to have pork. Tell me, have you ever been tempted? Have you ever been tempted to have pork?" And the rabbi thinks for a moment, says, "Yes, Father, yes. I have succumbed once to such temptation. I ate a bacon sandwich." Says the priest. A few minutes later, the rabbi says to the priest, "Father, your religion requires you to be celibate." Big rule in Catholicism, being a Catholic priest. Have you ever succumbed to temptation and breached that rule? The priest thinks for a moment and says, "Yes, Rabbi, I did once succumb." The rabbi thinks for a moment and says, "Beats bacon sandwiches, doesn't it?" Love it, love it, love it. So, that's another tip that I have for you. Have plenty of humour. Read joke books. Get some jokes into you. Lighten up. This game of life that we have, and what this show is about is helping you, despite the challenges that we face, enjoy your life on a day-by-day basis, every day when you wake up. And so humour helps you to do that. So I hope today's big idea and the resources I've given you help you to raise your self-awareness about what's important to you, so that you live your life in a way that is meaningful, on purpose, and truly nourishing and just an amazing experience for you. I believe it's possible because that's the life that I lead. My dad led that sort of life. It didn't mean he did not have difficulties. All of these resources I share with you are to help you thrive with the difficulties. As Jim Rohn famously said, he said, "Don't pray for things to be easier. Pray for you to become better so you can handle whatever life throws at you." I invite you to subscribe to this podcast or YouTube, depending on whether you are listening or watching. Please share this with your family, with your friends, with your colleagues. I would be most grateful. Discover more about the self-awareness and passion quest at Charles Kovess & Co. And for corporate programs, visit kovess.com. My first two books, Passionate People Produce and Passionate Performance, are both available at these websites. Now, let's review some of the happenings over the past week of note. Well, I again mentioned the result of the Victorian election. I mentioned it in the last show, and it is amazing that a corrupt criminal premier can win a third election. Daniel Andrews, the worst premier in Victoria's history. And the point that I make is that in Victoria, in Australia, And many countries around the world, 60% of people have a good time under the various attacks on freedom that have occurred over the last 3 years for the reasons about which you know. 60% of people in an environment have a good time, particularly politicians, public servants, bureaucrats, and big business. Big business has raped many small to medium-sized businesses as a consequence of the government-taken initiatives, allegedly in the names of protecting us. That has certainly proven to be the case in Victoria. The Football World Cup, Soccer World Cup, continues, and Australia has just been knocked out by Argentina. So Argentina has moved into the top 8. Big deal, as you know, huge television audience, huge amounts of money put in there, and huge amounts of corruption in the whole administration of that sport. And constantly, all we can do about corruption, which ties into the whole issue of being tempted by cash to sell out your principles, to not make decisions based on the right principles, the way to deal with this is to shine a light on it. That's why I'm talking about it today. And it starts with you shining a light on yourself. The Liberal Party in Australia is in disarray because it refuses to stick to its principles. It sells out, it's got internal conflict. My prediction is that the Liberal Party will split into two, between true conservatives who value freedom, who value personal responsibility, who value reward for effort, and who value looking after those who need looking after. People who subscribe to those principles will split from the woke liberals, from the politically correct liberals, from the identity politics liberals who've sold out liberal philosophy, in my view. We're getting news of predicted food and energy shortages, all imposed as a part of this climate emergency. And I say again, do your own research. I say there is no climate emergency. Don't get sucked in. Push back against this nonsense when people speak it. A great resource for you to look at is the Institute of Public Affairs in Australia. If you want the truth, if you want BS, keep reading the mainstream media about climate emergency. The other notable fact that happens is many athletes are continuing to be damaged by heart scare. Recently, Ricky Ponting, the former Australian cricket captain, front page news, heart scare. How strange. I wonder where that's coming from. And the last matter is I'm pleased to announce that I've been elected as Secretary of the newly formed Federation of International Hemp Organisations. And over the course of the week, because of a man called Kevin McKernan, I was exposed again to the value of cannabinoids and your endocannabinoid system and the way that cannabis works on your body to make you healthy. That's why I talked about hemp seeds. Have plenty of hemp seeds. Help your body to build up the resources that it needs to cope with the stuff that is being thrown at it. That's what Julie does. That's what I do. And other than that, of course, we continue our exercise regime. Julie does, I do. I hope that you are as well. So, that's about it. If you're new to the show, stick around to understand the foundational principles of the show and a bit of background about me. Thanks for watching or listening. And until our next show, may your week be full of passion, full of challenge that you willingly embrace, full of learning, fun, day by day fulfillment. This show is designed to inspire you to keep looking for a life that you can live in that way. Bye for now. See you next week. And now, for viewers and listeners who want to know more about my background and what else I do with my life, as well as the foundational principles of the show. Here we are. Since 1993, when I left my legal career, a career that I love, to become Australasia's passion provocateur, I have inspired and provoked and educated and motivated people all over the world to discover and pursue their passion. I have helped people via the books that I've written, via speeches at conferences, via in-depth team building programs, workshops over 1, 2 or 3 days, or over 3 months, 6 months. And I've coached people of all ages, one-on-one, from small, medium and large enterprises, government enterprises, helping them to identify the often tiny changes that can make a massive difference. One of my core principles is that freedom is what makes us truly human. That's why one of the greatest threats that government imposes on you to force you to observe its laws is the threat of imprisonment, the loss of your freedom. Just think about that. Government says if you don't behave yourself, we're going to put you in jail. No, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to lose my freedom. That's a reminder to you of why freedom is so important. Without freedom, you and I are not much different to animals. If you were locked up in a cage for the rest of your life, how different would you be to an animal? This commitment to fighting for freedoms for all people is carried out by me primarily through 5 channels. Number 1, preserving the freedom to pursue your passion. Number 2, inspiring you to be able to be free through excellent health. Number 3, helping preserve freedom throughout the world through the expansion of industrial hemp, a magnificent agricultural crop, an almost miraculous crop that enables every community to thrive independently of government. In this way, the power of government to take away freedom is minimized. Number 4, fighting for freedom through legal strategies. So I do work as a legal strategy consultant, as an interface between clients and their lawyers. And number 5, as chairman of the Australian Institute of Comedy and as a board member of the Australian Cartoon Museum, fighting for the freedom of thought and speech through uncensored comedy and humour, through avoiding political correctness in the comedic space. When you block freedom of speech, freedom of thought, that's the beginning of the end of your freedoms. The foundational principles for the Charles Covess Show are founded on the formula SA plus P equals S. Your self-awareness added to your passion will guarantee that you are successful. And the best definition of success I have found in life is that success is the progressive realization of your worthy ideals. The progressive realization of your worthy ideals. This show is also guided by Socrates' famous principle and quote, "The unexamined life is not worth living." You can see I'm wearing my red jacket. I wear my red jacket for all my shows. Red is the color of passion, so that when you see me on the YouTube version, it reminds you that when you see red in your life, you ask yourself the question, am I pursuing my passion? What am I passionate about? Am I still passionate about that? What might I newly be passionate about? Each week I explore one big idea that can change your life. And it's just one big idea because there's a chance you will remember it. If I give you too many ideas, then we get confused and we don't do anything. Clarity leads to power. Confusion kills passion. Each week I share simple and practical resources that you've heard me describe in the earlier part of the show. A spiritual tip, a health tip, lyrics of a song, a book, a quote, and of course humour. This show is not politically correct. I have no intention of being politically correct. And I love certain addictions, including my addiction to great coffee, my addiction to exercise, my addiction to reading, and my addiction to certain other unmentionable in public type behaviours. Who would know what they are? This show definitely subscribes to the view that we have a spiritual life. So if you don't like discussion of spirituality, this show is not for you. I promise you that I don't include anything in this show that I don't consider to be true and that I have not found to be useful. in the work that I've done over the past 28 years, but also over the past 50 years in business, as a lawyer, as a consultant advisor. I only want to share stuff with you that is of value to you. Finally, if you have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to contact me at charles@covest.com. Again, thanks for watching and listening to my show. Bye.